Next, PBA Association of New York State.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Legislative Budget Committee. My name is Manuel Villar.
Pull
I'm
that
president.
mic in a little bit, please. Just pull. Thank you.
My name is Manuel Villar. I'm president of the Police Benevolent Association of New York State. I'm also a sergeant on the New York State Park Police out of Long Island. Next to me is Pete Barry, PBA Vice President and a State University police officer at SUNY Albany. On behalf of the Police Benevolent Association of New York State and its 1,200 plus uniformed police officers, we want to thank you for this opportunity to testify this afternoon. The Police Benevolent Association of New York State, PBA NYS, is a certified collective bargaining union representing police officers assigned to the State University Police, Environmental Conservation Police, State Park Police, and State Forest Rangers. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President Barry.
Thank you. We're here today to discuss three issues relating to the protection of the citizens we serve in New York. First and foremost, staffing deficits impact each unit of the PBA and their ability to best meet the needs of the general public and their fellow officers. Nowhere is this more evident than on state university campuses. We respectfully request that the legislature include Senator Robach's Bill 3221 and Assemblyman Abadi's Bill 4519 and the appropriate funding in the 2015-16 budget. This legislation would allow state university police officers the option of transferring into the New York State Police and Fire Retirement System from the New York State Employees Retirement System. 563 police departments have a police pension, and only one, the University Police, does not. Pension disparity between university police and other police agencies has created a serious turnover and stability issue for the state university system. It is a simple fact that campuses are much safer with a stable police force. SUNY's officers are highly and uniquely trained for their environment. With the passage of the Tier 6 retirement bill, all newly hired state university police officers are required to work until age 63. At least twice as long as officers in all other departments. This would require a new 21-year-old SUNY cop to work 42 years in a community of students in their teens and early 20s. All other police officers in the PNF were exempted from this Tier 6 change. Tier 6 also changed death and disability benefits from SUNY police officers, creating an indefensible and highly offensive structure of vastly inferior benefits for one department of police officers in New York State. The state clearly believes in the strength and ability of our men and women. In recent years, you've added many new responsibilities to the force, including the creation of startup, an increased role in fighting the heroin epidemic, new sexual assault reporting measures and rules, mandatory active shooter training, and the deployment of officers to respond to natural disasters. We strive for diversity in our ranks so our force reflects the population we serve. However, young state university police officers are receiving training and experience at SUNY only to leave that department for a different state or local police agency offering the PNF plan. The fact is, many police departments are seeking qualified women and minority officers, and SUNY police officers are often targeted for recruitment by municipalities because they are well-trained and disgruntled by the lack of retirement parity with their fellow officers. We have become a training ground for other departments, and SUNY is eating the cost. It is a ridiculous waste of resources, and as the economy improves, municipal police agencies are seeing their hiring budgets increase. Conversely, SUNY police chiefs have indicated that they expect to see the number of resignations from SUNY police officers to increase. After all, 95% of municipal police departments offer a 20-year plan with appropriate disability benefits, and the remaining 5% offer a 25-year plan. Attrition rates in some campuses top 100%. The situation has gotten so bad that SUNY administration officials are using the term critical to describe police staffing. Those same officials estimate that it costs between $85,000 and $100,000 to properly recruit and train police officers for duty, and this figure does not include the intangible costs of losing continuity and valuable experience. According to SUNY officials, the system has lost well over $5 million since 2008, and they project to lose $10 million over the next 5 years. It is significant that this issue has long received the support of both labor and management. Chancellor Zimfer's own written budget testimony includes the need for pension equity and calls for the legislature to help her system compete with other police entities. Both sides recognize the problem that the SUNY pension disparity causes with police morale and campus safety, and the ultimate fiscal implications caused by the turnover need to be dealt with immediately. The inclusion of parity legislation for SUNY police officers in the budget would put an end to an enormous amount of fiscal waste at an already underfunded SUNY system. For all those above reasons, I strongly urge you to include this legislation in an Article 7 budget bill and add it to the funding and the final enacted budget. I will turn it back over to President Villar for the rest of the testimony. Thank you.
The second item we want to discuss is the outdated radio system used by our uniformed officers at the Department of Environmental Conservation. Environmental conservation officers and forest rangers protect our citizens as well as public lands and the overall environment. We respond to levels of environmental complaints, crises, natural disasters, fires, citizens in distress. We protect natural resources, whether it's investigating a commercial enterprise dumping tons of toxic waste into our waterways, or a lone poacher killing a protected species of animal. We respond to plane crashes in remote areas, hikers stranded on mountains, and people who have fallen through the ice on waterways. Forest rangers and environmental conservation officers are forced to use a variety of outdated, dysfunctional equipment every day due to budget cuts and flat spending. A prime example of this is our radio system, which has not been upgraded in decades and is completely useless when trying to communicate with other police, fire, and rescue entities. The DEC has, for many years, maintained communication systems composed of radio towers, base stations, mobile and portable radios. DEC emergency response personnel and the public depend on this system to allow them for timely dispatch of resources and the exchange of information during environment and man-made disasters, searches, rescues, law enforcement responses throughout the state. Unfortunately, the DEC continues to operate an analog radio system and its components, some of which date back to the 1970s, are so obsolete they are incompatible with newer digital systems, which are being mostly used today by most local law enforcement. Today, DEC emergency responders are frequently unable to communicate with local or statewide emergency response organizations or even their own agency's central dispatch. Our officers often spend entire shifts in remote areas such as the Adirondack Park, and they are typically alone while on duty. In emergencies, they have to resort to using their personal cell phones to relay important information or create communication chains across a region in order to broadcast important information from an emergency site to a command. As you know, cell service is not available in every part of the state, and the other option is an enormous waste of talent and resources. The issue not only creates safety concerns for our officers, but for the general public as well. Routinely, environmental conservation officers and forest rangers miss calls for assistance and backup because they cannot receive the transmissions from municipal PDs or the state police. Recently, our officers missed calls for domestic disputes and an officer-related shooting minutes away from where they were working. This is unacceptable in this day and age. of advanced technology. We are asking for a one-time capital grant to the Department of Environmental Conservation of $6.5 million for a radio system upgrade. This is the perfect use of surplus funds. Our third and final item we'd like to discuss with you today concerns the lack of adequate patrol vehicles for members of the New York State Park Police. We are currently in need of everything from police sedans to trailers. The 265 members of the New York State Park Police are the first responders entrusted with the protection of over 61 million visitors each year to New York State parks and campgrounds, as well as historic sites, wilderness areas, waterways, snowmobile and recreational trails. We can be found in every corner of the state, from Niagara Falls to Montauk Point, and are highly trained police professionals with unique skills and duties. State Park police officers protect lives and natural resources on public and private lands. We police criminal activity, are the first responders during times of emergency and extreme need, such as natural disasters like Superstorm Sandy and the recent blizzards, or the constant threat of terrorism in state parks, attended by millions of people. State Park Police often make courageous rescues in the ocean waters off Long Island, on the brink of Niagara Falls, the gorges of Genesee, or a snowy mountainside snowmobile trail. In order to continue to conduct these patrols and provide these life-saving services, we must replace our aging patrol vehicles and the transportation equipment. As with DEC, years of cuts and flat budgets at OPR have created conditions ripe for failure that could ultimately cost lives. Currently, and future State Park Police members have operationally unsafe vehicles, modern transportation equipment, and they need modern transportation equipment so they can respond expeditiously to the needs of the public. We are in dire need of police sedans, four-wheel drives, snowmobiles, all-terrain vehicles, boats, bicycles, transportation trailers to patrol and provide the rescue services in areas that are normally inaccessible to normal vehicles. The Office of Parks and Recreation has indicated they anticipate purchasing law enforcement vehicles out of the State Parks Infrastructure Fund in the capital budget. However, it remains unclear how much will be designated to law enforcement vehicles. At this time, we ask the legislature to ensure that the final enacted budget contains an appropriation of $2.2 million dedicated to the purchase of law enforcement transportation vehicles and the equipment this year. We again thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today, and we're happy to take your questions.
Thank you very much. Senator Gallagher.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for your testimony. I only have one question, and I'm assuming that, Mr. Berry, that...
I'm sorry, sir?
I'm assuming you'll be the one to answer this. It has to do with the pension proposal. I know that we have, in the past, the Senate and the Assembly has passed this proposal, but it has yet to be signed into law. Nonetheless, you made a compelling case for this proposal, not just in terms of public safety and stability to the agency and your officers, but the fiscal impact, the negative fiscal impact on the SUNY budget of the various campuses. So here's my question. Your testimony indicates that the SUNY system's lost over $5 million because of attrition since 2008, project to lose another $10 million in the next 5 years. What is the cost of the pension proposal?
There's a first-year cost of approximately $2.4 million. There's a past service contribution cost of $9.7. This is decreased from last year's Controller's Office fiscal number, but I've described in the past that that's a phantom number. Essentially, there's a good number of members in the department that are going to stay in the current system. They've logged so many years in with SUNY that they're going to benefit financially by staying in the ERS. So they're going to stay. So after the first year, you're going to see that number drop exponentially.
Do you have any projections for the annual costs going forward?
That would be impossible to get a finite number on until after the first
Approximate?
year. The first year, I'm looking at 2.4 million. Beyond that, if you just say that half the people don't go into that, I guess you can cut that 9.7 in half. And then there's also other numbers, just overtime to fill up slots that have been vacated for people who have gone to other departments. That has to be filled with overtime. And a lot of times that's a detriment to the department because if an officer leaves, you have to retrain and train, recruit. It takes about 9 months.
So without knowing exactly, though, but it's fair to say that in addition to the campus safety benefits, the officer safety benefits, the morale benefits,
Absolutely.
there will be fiscal benefits to the SUNY system.
To sum it up, to not pass this is going to cost the state money. If you pass
So the answer is yes.
If you
to my
pass this
question,
bill,
right?
the state will save money and all those other benefits that go along with it.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Gallivan. Senator Savino.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. I have to tell you, after listening to all of you testify about the condition of your vehicles, I'm getting a little afraid to be out there on the thruway with you guys. In all seriousness, though, one of the issues that the governor has talked about this year is reducing sexual assault on campuses, and I'm wondering, has there been any training, any additional supports offered to the SUNY campus police to help deal with this problem?
Yeah, there's a limited amount of training, approximately 6 to 8 hours. I don't know that all people have gotten it. I received it about 3 weeks ago, so I don't know if it's flushed through the SUNY system altogether.
What exactly are they, what does the training consist of?
It's statistics of these are being reported, how many are actually being reported. We get training in sexual assault on how to deal with empowering victims upon getting a call. Sometimes you even get that in service training in the academy, or in service training after the academy. But I couldn't expand upon that initial training. If I would have known, I would have brought in those.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I noticed he did a press conference on it yesterday, announcing again that we're going to do everything possible to reduce sexual assault on campus, and obviously that's something we all support. But beyond reporting it when it actually occurs, because that's been one of the problems where campuses have not wanted to make reporting to the local police department, that's going to be a requirement. But how do we prevent it? I'm curious as to whether or not that's part of the training. Is there a role for the SUNY campus police to play in raising awareness of what's inappropriate or appropriate behavior, or what they should look out for, and how to maybe avoid sexual assault as opposed to just reporting it when it occurs?
Senator, about 4 or 5 years ago, I testified before you, and you asked me some questions. It was on a bill that would consolidate SUNY Police Department into one department. So unfortunately that never came to fruition, so I couldn't talk for other SUNY departments. I know that my department, when you get, and I work at SUNY Albany, the sexual assaults are dealt with a lot with the DA's office. So if you get a sexual assault call and it's founded, the officer is going to rely on their initial training, and then beyond that to get either to the hospital or beyond that to make a case, a DA's office has to come in and debrief the victim. But I don't have an answer for you on a macro level within SUNY because we are 29 different campuses.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Senator Savino. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate your patience.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.